Hi, it's Susie. It's a Saturday. I decided to tell you this story about, I'm just going to call her Darling Nickie. Her name's Nicole, and she goes by Nickie. She's very, very sweet. So Nickie is a lady who is homeless. She hasn't been always, but currently she's homeless. And I feel bad for her, and she kind of has a special place in my heart. This lady, she's so sweet, and she's very friendly. She's she's never rude, but she struggles with emotional stuff. I feel pretty confident that she has like some kind of schizoaffective disorder, I think it is. A lot of times you'll find her talking to herself. She'll carry whole conversations, and sometimes she gets emotional. I'm gonna find my words. Okay. Sometimes she gets pretty emotional, and you'll find her crying, and sometimes just downright sobbing, and it's so sad. And when she's in that state, there's really nothing you can do for her but just to let her work it out, let her cry it out, I suppose. Other times she's very, very happy. Like, I wouldn't say manic, but maybe. I don't know. I mean, she could have more than one problem going on. Health-wise, she's pretty healthy, minus, I guess, some sciatica that really bothers her. But Nickie she pulls around, well, she did. She would pull around these wagons that you get at Walmart. It's just a wagon. It's fabric with these cheaply made wheels, and everything she owned would be in that wagon. And at night, you could find her sleeping somewhere, a lot of times in a bus shelter, and she would sleep on the wagon with her feet propped up on the benches. Even when it was just dangerously cold outside, she'd be all covered up in all her blankets and just sleeping away. At least I assume she's sleeping, because she's all covered up. I can't imagine she could possibly stay warm. And when I could, I would give her hand warmers, those little pocket hand warmers. I've tried to give her other stuff, and she doesn't like to accept things from people. And like I said, I feel bad for her, and she kind of has a special place in my heart, but she's such a sweet lady. She does get Social Security once a month, and usually by the time that the month is rolled around, the wagon that she pulls, it's worn out. The wheels have come apart, and she's just pulling it along on the plastic rims, and it's uneven, unsteady, and I couldn't sleep on a wagon. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. But when she gets her check, then she goes in and she gets herself a whole new wagon. And sometimes she spends money on a hotel. I don't know what else. She doesn't smoke, she doesn't drink, she doesn't do drugs, she doesn't have any habits like that. Poor thing, she barely eats. But just a tiny little thing. But she's, like I said, so sweet. And she sings. She loves to sing. Sometimes she'll be singing a song and she gets something in her head, and she sings for the whole bus. She just sings and sings, and she doesn't always carry a tune very well, but yeah, she's feeling it. Let her do it. So, sorry, I'm reading my notes. She does get very nervous around strangers, and
150 to 1.
People who on the bus, they try to flirt with her, or they try to get fresh or whatever. They say things. She doesn't put up with any of that garbage. She just doesn't. She doesn't like it. She won't put up with it, and good for her. Just good for her. But this one day, it was something. It was pretty cold outside, and we were driving over this big bridge, and there happened to be an accident. It had done this freezing rain situation where the ground, it was just dangerous. It was so slick, and people had an accident at the bottom of the bridge. And so as it were, by the time we got up on the bridge to see that, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't go anywhere. We just ended up sitting, and we sat on the top of that bridge for at least an hour, probably closer to an hour and a half. And in that time, she'd been talking to me and everything. And she started singing, and next thing you know, she's singing Christmas carols. And she's trying to get the whole bus to just start singing Christmas carols with her, because people are getting uptight. They're tired of sitting on the bus. They're wanting to know, when are we going to move? I have no answers for them. We're going to move when they clear the road and we can move. We have a route to stay on. We can't just try to do some kind of detour. Sorry about that. Especially not when we're sitting on top of the bridge. We can't go anywhere. The parking brake was set and we're just sitting there. And try as she might, she couldn't get the bus to sing Christmas carols with her, so I sang a few. I can't imagine how we sounded, but it must have been something. She tickles me. And so we sang Christmas carols, and people pretty much, they were pretty good. I mean, there were a couple that were getting really frustrated. Somebody had to go to the bathroom, another one wanted to smoke, and, they're just getting frustrated. But everybody put up with it pretty well, and eventually they cleared the accident enough, then we could get off the bridge and go about our day. And it was one of those really memorable times. It was really fun. And I've seen her a lot since then, except for, at the last part of the winter, she kind of disappeared. And come to find out, this girl, when it gets too cold and she can't deal, she hops a Greyhound and she goes to Miami or wherever she goes. She says Miami most of the time, but she goes to Florida and Miami most of the time, and she just has a great time. And then when it starts getting better weather-wise, she comes back. And 2 weeks ago, back she was. And it was nice to see her, She rides my bus pretty frequently. And she's just a nice lady. She's got emotional issues, whatever, but super nice. And it's always nice to see her. She's always kind. And you know where I'm going with this? As always, if you have the opportunity in this life to be kind, to spread kindness, sprinkle it around like it's glitter. Just spread kindness wherever you can, and I promise you, it always comes back. Don't do it for the return, but it always comes back. That's why I can be so full of joy in my life. I do kindnesses whenever I can, and it comes back. I promise you, it comes back. So like I said, practice kindness, sprinkle it like glitter, do everything you can. All right, thanks for listening to me. Hit the like button if you would. Subscribe. I'd like subscribers. So, all right, thanks guys. All right, bye-bye.